Hello folks. Thought I'd talk a minute about Yin-Yang. This is something that, well, it's on the Korean flag for South Korea, as a matter of fact. It's something that I think as a symbol, it's kind of cool. I like the term resonates. It is something that resonates within the human person, that you look at this and you go, well, that is in its own way kind of beautiful. It's kind of cool. It shows stability and dynamism at the same time, and it's a rather interesting thing, and in its concept, that there's a balance between things also seems to make sense, at least on the surface, and that's what I want to dig into a little bit, is to see why it doesn't make sense after you look at it a little bit. But basically, if I understand it correctly, Yin-Yang is basically a dualism, that there is good and there is evil, and the good represented by white and the evil by black, but within each there's a little speck of the other, and this is kind of what creates, I suppose, the dynamism between the two, where they are constantly in a sense chasing each other around and also following each other around. Now dualism in this case, as I understand it, it means that there's good and evil in the world, and they are basically equal, just two different sides of the same coin. And it's represented by this symbol right here, the yin-yang. And from a Christian perspective, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but from a Christian perspective, that is utterly false. That is absolutely false. If you read in the Bible from the very beginning of the book of Genesis, it talks about how God created everything that is. Now, first there was just God by himself. I mean, so far as we know, that's as far as our revelation goes. And he created the world, and he created it good. Nowhere in there does it say that then he also created evil, or when he created good, he created its counterpart, evil. It doesn't say that at all. And a lot of people say, well, if God created good, then he also created evil, because evil is, and therefore God must have created it. But no, in fact, he did not. Evil is not a thing. It's a choice. So when you realize that, then all of a sudden you've got a different perspective on things. If God is all good, then he cannot have even one speck of deceit or trickery or evil or anything like that in his nature. It is not there. It is not there at all. It cannot be. If it were, it would mean that God could not be God, because God must be, by logical reasoning, he must be perfect. He must be almighty and omnipotent and omnipotent, all these things. He must be all of these things. Otherwise it'd be a defect, and he could not be God. Okay? So with this idea here, well, a lot of people, I think of Jesus as being representative of the good, and Satan being representative of the evil. Well, never for a second make the mistake of thinking that somehow Satan is somewhere close to being on par with Jesus Christ. He is nowhere close, not even close, because there is no comparison to the infinite good, which is God. So evil then, what exactly is evil? Well, evil is a choice. Like I said earlier, just a minute ago, evil is a choice. It's basically disobedience against that which is good. So if you look at the actions of Satan, if you look at the actions of men, what they do is take something that's good and turn it and twist it and pervert it, and now it becomes something bad. You can think of pride. It's good to be proud of the work you do, proud of your children, proud of your family, and proud of your heritage, and proud of all these things. But it can also go over the edge and become sinful, where now your pride consumes you, and it's all about your standing in the community, or your image in the eyes of yourself and your fellow man. And that's when it crosses the line and becomes something dark and something evil. I think this is also rather interesting in that in the physical world we can study light. Light is something that we can study. We know what it is, we know how it works, and we're learning more about it and such. You can't study darkness. Why? Because darkness is just simply the absence of light. And so far as I know, you can't get a degree in darkology or something like that. There is no such thing as studying darkness. Now, in the moral sense, yes, there is. It's called criminology, and you can study darkness and various pathological problems that we study in psychology. But those are because that is because those are choices that people make. Why are they functioning this way? Why do they think this way? What is it that gives rise to these dark, nihilistic, hedonistic tendencies? These things that all of us would recognize are evil. It's written in our souls that we recognize good and we recognize evil. Now, not to every degree, and we can also, unfortunately, choose to darken our consciences, to pervert them to the point where what is actually genuinely good we now perceive as being something evil. And what is truly evil, we will justify it, we will rationalize it, we'll make excuses, we'll jump through whatever fiery hoop we have to convince ourselves that this evil that I want to do is actually good. And we see that played out in our personal lives, in our communities, and on the international scale too. We see people doing some really wicked things, and if we're willing to call it that, we recognize them as being evil. So the bottom line is yin-yang on the surface, dualism on the surface, they resonate with the human person. They make sense to us, but at a deeper level, when we look into it, it's like, no, they do not make sense. There is no moral equivalency between deeds of goodness and deeds of evil. And we should not let the one think that the other's the same as. No, they are not. It is an accurate view of reality to recognize that there is genuine goodness, and evil is a choice to pervert that goodness. Thank you very much. God bless you.